This one is A Rough Way to Go by Sam Garonzik. Hopefully that's how you pronounce it. A stay-at-home dad who feels emasculated by his workaholic wife and lack of career is drawn into the case of a drowned man when the death is ruled an accident. He suspects foul play because the deceased man was somebody he knew before being laid off from his job in finance, a Wall Street investor, and he talked to him the day of his death. Is he onto a murder, or is he just desperate to prove himself? The book takes the recent tropes of the domestic thrillers like The Girl on the Train or that kind of thing, although I guess that's not so recent nowadays, but anyway, and flips the gender so that the unreliable narrator is the male stay-at-home dad and the workaholic spouse is the wife. Into that plot and genre are tossed themes of modern masculinity, finding meaning and purpose, and fatherhood. It's a debut novel from an author who worked in the finance sector himself, so I guess it's a case of writing what you know to some extent. The novel takes the first-person voice, as a lot of novels in this sort of genre do. It's generally because the narrator is meant to be unreliable, and that way the author can play around with what the narrator might be hiding from us or what they don't know that they know, that kind of thing. Our main character in this story is Peter Greene, and he's absolutely insufferable. I cannot tell if his constant whiny, almost narcissistic and unself-aware storytelling is meant to be sort of funny, or if we're meant to interpret his sort of self-absorption as being unreliable and kind of read through the lines. In the opening pages, just to kind of give you a taster here, we learn that within a few weeks of his wife giving birth, he fakes having jury duty for months, actual months, and leaves her alone with the newborn because he isn't enjoying new parenthood. When his abandonment of her makes her cry, he interprets this as being pissed at him and tells us that she's sort of like that a lot. And also that she bosses him around. Like, in other words, asks him to do things at home or checks that he's done them because sometimes he forgets. He then says he senses a coldness towards himself from her, as though she's the heartless one. He then says to comfort her, he feeds and changes his own child for that one night. Surely, since he's been out all day, he would be doing that anyway. Like, him taking care of his own offspring is his responsibility. That's not comforting another person. He also obsesses over not working. And by that, I mean, he doesn't look for work or anything. It's more that he interprets everybody's actions or behavior towards him as being about his masculinity and social standing based off his like work status, basically. And at certain points, it's creepy because it's really obsessive. He's deeply ashamed of being a stay-at-home dad. The reason that I'm not sure if his behavior is meant to be accepted or rejected by the reader is that there's no payoff for this in the book. Like, it's not a hinge that the twist ending turns on or anything like that. And it's not really funny either. It kind of just reminded me of watching a bunch of those depressing relationship red flag videos on Instagram or like that kind of thing, which, I mean, I guess those videos are quite popular. So then I kind of wondered, is that who the author is appealing to? Like, did he kind of see some of those and think, oh, I'm going to make a like character that has a bunch of red flags? Or is he appealing to the people in those videos? Like, I'm not really sure why. Like, it was just very one note, and like, was it supposed to be entertaining? I'm not really sure. Either way, I personally found it made for a really difficult read, especially because the other characters felt a little underwritten, and every single one of them is against him in this book. Like, every single person is against him. I mean, perhaps it was intentional, since that's how the character sees the world, as though he's just an eternal victim. But it made for really repetitive reading for me. Some of the dialogue in this book was not very good. It could have used a little bit of development, which is probably why the people around the main character felt a little bit flat sometimes. But yeah, overall, I think it suffers from what I feel like a lot of recent reads do. It just needed a really good edit to tighten it up. Like, this book could have been a lot shorter and just more tightly plotted. It's overlong. There's a lot of, things that could have been one page that were 2 pages. And I feel like if you're going to do that, you have to be really entertaining for those 2 pages, not really insufferable for those 2 pages. I mean, the idea of having a sort of narrator who's narcissistic and we're like in their mind, you know, and the twist ending. And even the idea of the domestic thriller genre with gender roles reversed. I think those are all really good ideas. And I think some of the writing, there are parts of this book where I'm like, there's a lot of promise here. This is a debut, you know, author, and I can see something there, you know. But it's very ambitious for a first novel, I would say, to try and sort of fuse all these ideas and make them work. And I think these elements just needed to be more fully developed to work well. It's slow-paced, struggling story, the very unpleasant lead character, and the parts about the finance world were not made interesting enough for the average reader, in my opinion. So I didn't love this one. The ending isn't bad. The twist, I was like, oh, that's cool, you know, but it was a bit of a slog to get to that ending. So, yeah. I think this is maybe one of those ones where I say to you guys, you know, make up your own mind. Or if you really loved this book, let me know in the comments what you loved about it, or like what kind of hooked you or that kind of thing. Because that's always really interesting to me. Sometimes people tell me things and I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of see that, you know? But yeah, for me, this one just, you know, there's some promise there from this author. I would consider reading this author again. But I didn't enjoy this one. Thank you to Hachette Canada for the copy of this book for review. And if you guys have anything you wanted to sort of say about this one, please let me know in the comments and I will have a little chat to you about it. And thank you for watching.